Yeah, Percy's cool. He's got fat and all those kind of things, but I often just reckon it's because I have a lekker life. I'm very blessed. We live in Bredasdorp. Bredasdorp, I don't know if you can remember, is 20 k's, 25 k's from inland from Agulhas, Cape Agulhas. So it's 200 k's from Cape Town. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people go to Arniston and Agulhas and all those kind of places, but you have to go through Bredasdorp. And we moved about 15 years ago. I wouldn't go back for all the teens. I do go back once a week because for my sins, I got involved a little bit after teaching. I got involved in the insurance industry, and I became and then when it became very evident that if you were 50 and white, there was no more work. And so I then had to go into being a broker myself, which wasn't a good time. You know, it's obviously a greeting to all those people, and especially those that have traveled very far. Hopefully I'll see some, but I probably won't see all. But during that time that I will be there on Friday. But yeah, you know, it's a great one. When you're young, one never realizes that you might even reach this milestone, and that's clearly, you know, there's a lot of us that have reached the milestone. There are a few that haven't, but you know, well done to all those that done. And you know, I sometimes feel out of place because many of the guys have gone on to become, you know, very learned people. There are lots of professors and doctors, and I wondered often if they were, you know, our year was that kind of year. There was, you know, often or is it just those guys that are interacting now? You know, the oaks that are professors of university. But yeah, it's just unbelievable to have done, you know, to achieve, as you said, to achieve this. This in itself is an achievement. Yeah, and I might remember the detail. You might be a little bit more in favor of the detail, but I often get it caught out. But I think we were the second year of the school being at Newlands. The school moved from town to Newlands in 60. So we were the second or third class if I'm not mistaken.
You're not.
So that in itself was quite an achievement. Well, not an achievement. It's, you know, it was quite a factor that we were one of the initial pupils at the Newlands campus. If you ask me how I felt, you know, I don't really remember. I just, you know, I was a bit grumpy because the guy that used to live down the road from me was a guy called Stephen Jones, and he went to Rondebosch. So I was a bit pissed off about the fact that my mates were at Rondebosch and I went to SACS. However, that was very short-lived because it created a great rivalry and probably, you know, a great friendship as well. Yeah, then I just, you know, I did what I did. You know, I went to school. I didn't take too much notice of too many things, but I went to school and, you know, I did what I tried to get involved. No, it sounds like I actively tried to get involved, but I didn't. I was a boy, so I didn't know. But, you know, I took part in everything that needed to be taken part of.
And you were good at sport.
By all accounts, all through my life, I've just been a compliant guy. I know there was a time where I was a rebel without a cause instead of 7 and 8 and all that, but I always basically a compliant oak, and I just went through. You know, if they said to me, run 100 meters, I ran 100 meters. If they said to me, go and do the long jump, I did the long jump. I wasn't one for decision making. Oh yeah, I had probably an above, you know, I had an above average ability to, you know, I suppose at that stage of your life, you live purely on talent. And, you know, if I ran 100 meters, I invariably, for whatever reason, came first, you know. So, you know, and then I played rugby and I did all those things. And
you started
as it turned out, it was lekker.
You started playing rugby in junior school?
Right? Yeah, 10. I was 10 years of age and I was playing in the under 12A. For some reason, that's something I remember.
Tell us about
Fortunately, I was a winger. Well, fortunately, I was a winger. And, you know, I was quite quick. Yeah. So I was able to sort of get through that sort of, and I wasn't a big guy, I don't think. I don't know why. I don't know why that sticks in my mind. Maybe I got it all wrong. Initially, I just remember both Oosthuizen and Van Niekerk as my coaches. And, pretty hard taskmasters. They used to run around with that rope at the back of the whistle and hold the whistle and give us a whack. If and I don't have to tell you, in those days, that was the way things were done. And I often think about it and say, well, I went into teaching eventually, and a little bit of that went it didn't turn me into a serial killer. So it's I don't know. I don't understand how the oaks do it this nowadays. I've got a daughter I've got a grandson, and she's definitely one of these new people. Don't swear at him, don't shout at him, don't do this and that. The point is, both Oosters and Van Niekerk I remember they were both phys ed teachers, but they were hard taskmasters. I don't want to say they liked to climb into us, but they had a way. And I rest my case. If they came up again and again, then they hypothetically left their mark. But they were, during our time, they were the rugby coaches. And the other name that comes up was it hasn't come up, but was Jimmy Warner. And he was a bit of a hard taskmaster as well. But if you played cricket for him, you got away with, it's like anything, I did. I played cricket as well. And so, I liked the guy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't everybody's favorite. Yeah. And having now got to this age of my life, often I was listening to something the other day, and somebody was saying, often what happens is that somebody's initial behavior, and having been a teacher and done a little bit of study of education, we are, whether we like to believe it or not, are products of our parents, and our parents are products of their parents. So often what happens is we get blamed for the shit that our parents put us through, because for one reason or another, our behavior was not accepted. And it wasn't really our behavior. Our behavior was modeled and set by the way in which we were treated at home. So by all accounts, and I see that today, I see it clearly as the day today. You look at the kids and you look at their behavior, they one way or another. I look at my own kids, and sometimes they behave like their mother, and sometimes they behave like their father. Whether we like to believe it or not, you can pick out those characteristics. And so, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
One thing you've got to tell us is, where and when did you get the nickname Percy?
I was waiting for that to happen. I was moving into it. I'm sure you remember, but remember where her name was Miss Wolfart or Van der Holt or
Mr. Wolf?
At the top right-hand corner of the junior school. It was
Mr. Wolf.
Mr. Wolf, that's it. Outside her classroom with a whole set of, and I remember this like yesterday, a whole set of cupboards that had a shelf on it. It looked like a kitchen cupboard of today, but there was a thing that ran around against the wall, and then it was in the passage going into a class. And I was standing at the class together with, I'm not sure how we got there, but together with people like Faki Minnow. He's a year older than us. So I was in standard 3, I think, and he was in standard 4. And I was now, if you can remember, we used to sell, not sell, but we used to have soccer cards. Remember the soccer players? We used to have these little cards. We used to buy them in lucky packets, and you get 3 cards. And that. Eventually, I had it's a stupid story, but everybody wants to know now how it all came about. One morning, I was on my way to school, and there was no TV or anything like that. So I listened to the radio. Before I left home, the radio, they were talking about this guy called Percy Owen, who played soccer for Rangers. And he, the night before, had got shot in a Hillbrow nightclub. And they were now putting that on the news. So I had a swap of Percy Owen. So I went to school, and at that place where I was telling you, where Fakim and I was outside Mr. Wolf's classroom, I told them, and then I said, I made a stupid statement. I said, mercy, mercy, Uncle Percy. Well, Minnow thought, you must understand, we were 10 and 11. He thought that was so funny. From that day on, till this day, I am still known as Percy. Even my father called me Percy.
Oh, you lie.
Even my father called me Percy. It's amazing how stupid things can create such an impact.
And you went to high school with all of us?
Yeah.
At 6. And what was that like? You?
It was, we went to school. It was a great time. Remember, I had links with the high school beforehand. I played under 13 rugby, in standard 5. But remember, they amalgamated the two age groups, and then a lot of the junior school guys had to go and play. So under 12 was junior school, and then those under 13s had to go and play in Johnny Ince's under 13 rugby side or rugby academy or whatever. It was great because you interacted with some high school boys at the time, many of them being our colleagues the year before in junior school, but it was great. It was a wonderful time. Yeah, I must admit, I was in awe of once again having that sport connection. That particular year, we had an unbelievable rugby and cricket side with some really great players. So I was in awe of these guys. Some of them like Prosser and Leon Price, and who else was there? There was a guy called Snyman. There was a good cricketer as well. John van der Spey. All guys, guys that were John van der Spey played SA cricket, SA schools cricket. We didn't have Springboks in those days, but they were a great side. Webstock, the older Webstock guy, he was also in that famous rugby. It was a great rugby side. Trevor Fish. And it was just, we also eventually created a really good side 5 years later. But we were in awe of those guys. And, we were tiny and all that sort of thing. But it was great. And, by all accounts, I had a good laugh eventually. Because we used to laugh at some of the stuff that went on. But it was a great time. Okay, you want more? The initiation of the standard sixes.
Yeah. We
always thought that was a bit rough. In the greater scheme of things, we went along with it because it was. Didn't know any better. And to certain degrees, we thought that certain people, like I felt a little bit marked, only because of my having been at the juniors, having been in the high school setup. I was in the I think under 13 also ran in the triangular athletics meeting. So hypothetically, I've got a picture of the 1968 triangular athletics. I was in standard 5, but I was in a high school photograph. It's that sort of thing, boxing, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'd read an article about somebody bringing up Victor Pearson. I was actually quite friendly with Victor. We boxed together. I did Bliksem him in standard 5. He was the final fight that I had. Got a hiding from me. But I liked it. I noticed that some folks don't like it, but I liked it. I thought he was a lekker. Looking back, you never know what from the background from which people are actually behaving. And really, we're not in charge. Whether you like to believe it or not, Andrew, we're not really in charge of our behavior at that age. We don't have the skills to be able to say, I'm not going to be a bully and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. We're acting out our folks, what our issues are. It's only when we get older and to apply levels of experience where we can start making choices and say,